The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, Ronald Reagan. This is my favorite t-shirt because my daughter gave it to me a few years ago. It's relevant. Some of you will already know what we're going to get into later today. The title of the show, The Democrats Are a Criminal Organization. We're going to get into it. The diaper stuff, all of the theft. Why do I say they're a criminal organization? What does a criminal organization do? They steal. The Democrats steal our money to enrich themselves, fund their programs, and their grabbing of more power. They steal our elections once they have more power. It's total theft. We're going to get into it all. All right, this is The Ordinary American. I am fired up. It's not even Friday. I apologize. I was not around yesterday. I got some emails and some comments from people that they were wondering where the show was, and that's great to hear, and I apologize. I did put out a Friday show. I was traveling yesterday. I had the great opportunity this weekend to spend a few days fishing with some great guys that I am in a small group Bible study with, and it was amazing. The weather was unbelievable. Even though it snowed and was sort of a blizzard, the snow was coming in sideways on the river. We were in Montana, but it was awesome. And I will say, it was really invigorating. Men have to be around men. Maybe we'll do a show about that at some point, but men have to be around men, around great guys, God-fearing guys, all doing the same, trying to figure life out. They've got their own stuff, but their stuff is similar to my stuff. So I get to see how they're dealing with it and share how I'm dealing with mine. And it was just a tremendous weekend. All right, I'm thrilled. I'm fired up to be back. Apologize about yesterday. I couldn't figure out the technology. I had planned on doing something, but as you know, my ability to do the video tech stuff is somewhat limited. All right, The Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. Let's get into it. Like, subscribe, and follow. Send this to your dad or your mom, your cousins, your grandparents, your kids. Send it especially to your lefty friends. Hopefully, we'll do one of two things. It might piss them off. Good. We want them pissed off. Second thing it might do is wake them up. We're trying to wake up the lefties. This is an anti-leftist show, which means we're anti-democrat. And we're trying to confirm the reality of the 77 million people who voted for Trump. All right, before we get into the criminal organization stuff, there's one video I wanted to play. Last week I played the Eric Church part of the Eric Church UNC Tar Heels commencement speech. It was a great speech. Highly recommend you go back and watch it. You can get everything that we do on the show in our X feed, The Ord American. All right. This one, where is it? Yep, here it is. Okay. This dude is Kenyon Bonner, total buffoon, but he's giving a commencement. He works at UVA and he's giving a commencement speech at UVA. I want to play it and then we're going to make some points before we get into the criminal organization stuff. This ties into it. We'll see.
Could not overcome. For all his brilliance, his unfounded and
sorry about that. What is going on here?
Ethically corrosive claims about human capacity reflected his ignorance and his hubris. History teaches us that ignorance precedes injustice, or as Nasir Jones puts it, people fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. Guess it's just a theory of man. However, in all of Jefferson's contradictions and complexity, his blueprint for an educated democracy was compelling, transcendent, and transformational. And here you are.
I'm going to stop it because something's not working right with the video. Hopefully that's not going to be all the videos. But you get the point. That mutt is criticizing the very guy who created the institution that pays him. And he's here in America, the country that Thomas Jefferson founded with others, and created the life-changing, world-changing concept of all men are created equal. This does not mention that before Thomas Jefferson wrote that, it was not true. All people didn't believe that. All of Europe, the nobles, the kings and queens, the dukes, whatever, they didn't think all men were created equal. They thought everybody was beneath them. The czars, the Russian oligarchs, the Chinese, Mao, etc., go throughout history, the emperors, etc. In Japan, none of them thought everybody was created equal. Thomas Jefferson, the guy that this guy is criticizing, put down on paper for the first time, all men are created equal. That alone deserves this guy's respect. He comes around in the end and says, oh, well, what he helped create was kind of good. It was compelling. The United States of America? Yeah, I'd say it's compelling. I bring this up to show the end stages of the corruption in the Democrat Party, the criminal organization. I'm sure this guy's a smart guy. He's got a fancy degree, I'm sure, maybe from UVA. But his brain has been so scrambled that he's still voting Democrat. He's a black guy who is voting for the very people who have been in charge of black cities and black schools for essentially forever, as far as we're concerned, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years in some cases. No Republicans, to totally ruin the schools. So where are the worst schools? Let's all say it together. Where are the worst schools? In the black neighborhoods or the white neighborhoods? The black neighborhoods. Who runs them? Democrats. Who's this guy voting for? And his message, it's for Democrats. So black Americans, as long as you keep on voting for these people, your schools are going to suck. If you wanted to destroy a community, I say this all the time, what better way than creating essentially functionally illiterate people? That's what the Democrats are doing. They were the party of slavery back in the 1800s, 1700s before the Democrat Party became to what it really was, but certainly in the 1800s. It's been the party of Jim Crow, of segregation. It's now the party of ruin your schools. That's what criminal organizations do. All right, I wanted to show that. Now, you know I love playing movie clips. So I'm going to play this movie clip. It's from the movie The Good Shepherd. And I think one of the things that it does well is it sort of shows the thinking of some of these people who are in government, the criminal organization. Let me put it up. Boom. All right, let's just play it.
Sensitive for national security. I can take the government off your back if you can help us.
Usually the guys that scare me. You're the people that make big wars.
No, we make sure the wars are small ones, Mr. Palm.
Let me ask you something. We Italians, we got our families and we got the church. The Irish, they have the homeland. The Jews, their tradition. Even the they got their music. What about you people, Mr. Carlson? What do you have?
The United States of America. The rest of you are just visiting.
See that? That is not all men are created equal. That is what happens when people get into the government and they get so much power. We see this, and we're going to see this now that we're going to go through some of these things with the Democrat Party, stealing our money and stealing our elections. That is the example. They have America, and we're all just visiting. Isn't that what it feels like when you think about Los Angeles and Spencer Pratt in his race for mayor? Mayor Bass, she has no policies to talk about. They just say, oh, Pratt's a Republican, or he's a Trump guy. So what? You had 7,000 homes burned down, could have been avoided. So do you want avoiding your home burned down, or do you want to hate Donald Trump? You choose. LA, you choose. We're going to get into that, okay? So I wanted to show that as the framework. Now, one of the things I say constantly on here is I'm quoting the great Dennis Prager. The great Dennis Prager says, the left ruins everything that it touches, okay? Let's listen to his words because he's way more eloquent than I am. And let's hear what he has to say. We'll just listen to a few minutes of it.
If what I am about to tell you is true, almost everything we most treasure, freedom, beauty, reason, the family, economic well-being, and even goodness, is in jeopardy. Who or what poses this threat? The answer is the most powerful ideology of the last 100 years. Leftism. Not liberalism, leftism. Or, if you prefer, progressivism. Leftism destroys everything it touches. Here are just a few examples. 1. The universities. Perhaps the most obvious example,
We just saw that.
one that many liberals acknowledge, is the left's near destruction of most universities as places of learning. In the words of Harvard professor Steven Pinker, an atheist and a liberal, because of the left, quote, universities are becoming laughingstocks of intolerance, unquote. At almost every university, and now high schools and even elementary schools, students are taught to shut down, not debate, those who differ with them, and to rely on feelings rather than reason. 2. The arts.
All right, we're not going to listen to the whole thing. I highly recommend you do. You can find it in my X thread. By the way, there are very few things that are more beneficial to any of us than listening to Dennis Prager. He's got a huge amount of content. Go to PragerU. Almost everything he says and the stuff that he puts out is amazing. This is the example he's going to go through. He goes through a bunch of the reasons that show that they destroy everything. A criminal organization always destroys everything because it doesn't build anything. AOC, which we played last week in one of the episodes, or maybe it was the week before, had that idiotic comment that you don't make $1 billion, you can only take it. The Democrats are always projecting what they're doing onto the other side. The Democrats are takers. Criminal organizations, Tony Soprano wasn't building stuff. He was taking stuff. That's it. They're always coming up with a scam or a scheme. You're seeing it in LA now. The Russian mafia, the Armenian people, you've got guys in prison. They're all participating in all the scams, stealing our money. So the left ruins everything. All right, what are we going to play next? The next piece is this. We're going to get into the sort of one of the major examples of the criminal organization. This is Peter Schweitzer. He's written a ton of unbelievable books based on the concept that the Clintons, the foundation, was criminal. Okay? The Clinton Foundation, for a recap, was a nonprofit started by Hillary and Bill Clinton to supposedly do good things around the world. The Democrats told criminal organization, and this is one of the hallmarks, they tell you that what they're doing is good. We were told that the diaper scam in LA or in California was going to be free diapers. And then when somebody did the math, it was like, wait a minute, free diapers? Why are you paying whatever it is, 3x more for those, or 4x more for those diapers than any normal person would pay? Where's that money going? Okay. It's always a fake. It's a scam. The Clinton Foundation is the same thing. They said we were going to do good charity work. No. What they were doing was they were brilliant criminal organization. What they were doing was finding a way to get legal bribes for our government when they were in power to dole out different benefits to people. Okay, just listen to this guy, another, by the way, brilliant guy who's done tremendous research on this.
4 FBI field offices did so: Little Rock, Arkansas, New York, Boston, and then their office in Nigeria. And they reached out to me, the field agents. This was sort of their organic investigation. And then the investigation just stopped in 2016. And I didn't really know why. I was on the outside looking in. So this memo shows specifically that the book is what triggered the investigation. The field offices were making progress. And then HQ, Sally Yates in particular, said, shut it down. We're not going to investigate this.
Now, here's what we do know. That has been disclosed by the Clintons themselves. When Bill Clinton ended his presidency in 2000, we know they owed millions in legal fees. Hillary Clinton, in an interview, told Diane Sawyer, we came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt. In the years that followed, Peter, until 2014, they earned more than $230 million. Where did this money come from?
Yeah, a lot of it came from overseas. It came from foreign governments. It came from foreign oligarchs. And one of the things that I did in the book was look at the pattern. When they received money, what else was going on? In the early part of that period, Hillary Clinton was in the U.S. Senate. And there's a lot of correspondence between the people that were paying Bill Clinton's speaking fees, donating to the foundation, and official.
All right, I'm not going to bother with that now that it's bugging out like that. You get the point. The Clintons needed money. They monetized access and power. And you can see, by the way, Schweitzer has some great graphs where when they think Hillary is going to become president, the donations go up. When she loses, they drop down to next to nothing. There's tons of great research on how little of the money actually went to help anybody. Same thing we see constantly in this nonprofit scam that we keep on seeing in every city. Okay, so that's just an example of the Clintons, one of the biggest Democrat families, and how they're a criminal organization. As I said at the beginning, a criminal organization steals money, grabs power, and then steals elections. What do I mean steals elections? We are now seeing an endless stream of information from states where there are more votes cast than voting age citizens. How can that be? That's corruption. The great Dan Bongino has said for years, the New York Times used to say that mail-in ballots were a recipe for corruption or a recipe for bad results. Why did they say it back then? Because back then, most of the mail-in ballots came from overseas military people, and the majority of them were voting for Republicans. Another hallmark of a criminal organization is they don't have any policies. It's all power. Just get the power, which I get from stealing your money and then doling out your money to more people that are then in it for me. And then I grab more power. And then I corrupt an election again, which is more power. And I spin and I keep on going. Keep on going. So we'll give a few examples, show a few examples of this ridiculous votes in different states and different counties. 23,344 mail-in votes without ballots received. This is in Arizona. 2,592 duplicate ballot discrepancies. Oh, what? How does that happen? Corruption. You can look down this list. Georgia, Fulton County. I think we're going to get to the bottom of that one. Let's do another one. Here we go. This is a great one. They steal our elections. They use mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, etc. And that's how they get more power. And then they dole out more of our money to their causes. Okay, great count, by the way, Shiloh Marks. 11 states and DC reported having more registered voters than citizens of voting age in 2024. Excuse me? How can that be? That's corruption. And the Democrats constantly fight cleaning up the voter rolls, constantly, because it's a criminal organization. They don't represent 50% of the country. They aren't willing to debate, as Prager said. They need total control and total tyranny. And now that's all the party has left. Say it all the time. James Carville. The only moral imperative is power. That's the Democrats' philosophy. Now, listen, you might be somebody who's voted Democrat your whole life, and you'd say, I'm not a bad person. I don't believe in corruption. Listen, I don't know what to tell you. You've been tricked. You've been tricked. Your dad and mom or grandparents or whoever might have been Democrats. It's not the same party. You've been tricked. If you're a black person, as we just discussed, you're a black American still voting for Democrats, you've been tricked into destroying your neighborhoods, into creating functionally illiterate people coming through the predominantly black schools. If you're a Jewish American, you got tricked into voting for Obama, who was funding Iran, who was funneling the money to Hamas and Hezbollah, among others, who were attacking Israel. You fell for it. You don't have to continue to fall for it. You can wake up. Just because your parents voted Democrat doesn't mean you have to. Things have changed. It is not the same. Okay? Now, I don't think I'm going to do too much more of showing that vote stuff, but here's one thing I want to show. This is the great Milton Friedman. This is old, but this is how far back this goes. By the way, I got a lot of pushback from lunatic lefties who are either bots or then they closed their account on X the other day. When was the last time we had a legitimate election? I couldn't say that. When was the last time we had a legitimate election? It wasn't 16, 20, or 24. We know that. When was the last legit election? Or when was the last legit Democrat primary? It wasn't this past primary because no one in America voted for Kamala Harris. Not one person in a primary. So I don't know. But here's an example of how once they steal an election and get votes in Congress, we've been over this in the past, the census was a mistake, all in favor of Democrats, okay? The Supreme Court ruled that making districts based on race was unconstitutional, of course, obviously. And what's this going to do to the Democrats? It's going to remove something like up to 40 potential congressional seats, which means they're never going to be competitive in a presidential election, which is why they're fighting it. And then when they get that power, this is an example of some of the things they do. This is Milton Friedman talking about college. Listen to this.
The facts are clear. Graduates of college are on the average a very much higher income class than people who don't go to college. So what do? We impose taxes on everybody, including those who don't go to college, in order to subsidize the people who do go to college. As I say, when I want to be demagogic, we impose taxes on the people in Watts to send the children from Beverly Hills to college. That's a literally exact statement. There's no, it's put demagogically, but the facts are literal. A study in the state of California some years back showed that 50% of the students at the state universities of higher education came from the top 25% of the income scale, and 5% came from the bottom 25%. What's true there is true everywhere. There is no social program in this country, in my opinion, which is so clearly a case of imposing taxes on low-income groups to benefit high-income groups as government subsidies to higher education.
How many years ago was that? I don't even know, but look at the video, okay? He is saying exactly what we're talking about today. That is a criminal organization. Once they get the power, they don't care. People were voting for Democrats back then, and they're still voting for Democrats. They don't connect the dots and say, oh, wait a second. I'm voting for the party that is stealing my money and giving it to somebody who probably can afford to go to college anyways. Now, a lot of the dynamics in there have changed because now we pay for more people to go to college. Here's a novel suggestion on how we can fix what some on the left would say is a disparity between the number of black people accepted to the good colleges or colleges in general and the number of white people. As I just said, the Democrats are making the predominantly black schools essentially illiterate factories, illiteracy factories. So of course they're not going to be able to get into good colleges. And of course you're going to need things like DEI and affirmative action. But you don't have to do it that way. Stop making those schools suck. Take all of the federal money that's going to education and send it right to the parents. You will see a massive change over a very short period of time. Jeff Yaz, who's a hedge fund guy, he has a great speech recently. I've been meaning to play it. I haven't got around to it, where he basically says in New York City, they spend $42,000 per student. That's more than private schools, and they still suck. We can take that money. What Jeff Yaz says is take half of it and put it into an educational fund. That will help eliminate the educational industrial complex. Put the other half in essentially like an investment fund for the individual. I think who am I? He's a brilliant billionaire. It sounded to me like his math was wrong, because if you do that every year for a certain number of years, you're going to wind up with a lot of money. So that person isn't starting as he graduates from high school with nothing. He'll have a great education, and then he can pay for college out of that. Then we don't have to pay for that college through our tax dollars. They steal our money, and then they steal our elections. One more example. What ends up happening is they steal our money. They take taxes at the threat of jail, ordinary Americans. They take that money and then they lie to us. They don't really tell us where it's going. They trick us all, trick some of us, and they say, we would never misspend it. We are public servants. We are trustworthy. Well, we have found out they are not trustworthy. None of them. None. Just like the founding fathers said, the people who will gravitate towards the power of government are the people you least want to have that power. So what happens is they steal our money, they funnel it to themselves, they get rich. We've seen a lot, we do a lot on that, whether it be the insider trading, the nonprofits, working its way back, the teachers unions giving to Democrats only. It's a complete money funnel. They steal our money, they take it and they give it to themselves, they enrich themselves, and they gain more power. Then they corrupt elections, then they get more power and steal more of our money. Then, and this is the coup de grace, they print more money, which deflates the purchasing power that we have through inflation. Get that? Think about that for a second. They have the audacity or the male anatomy to steal our money, lie to us about it, then print more money, which makes the money that we're allowed to keep worth less. We're getting it from both ends. It is a criminal organization, and it does not represent 50% of the country. It represents probably 20% and a lot less, and things are changing rapidly. All right, we're gonna move now adjacent to this, which is the LA mayor's race. This is a great example of the criminal organization. Spencer Pratt is going to win this thing. That's my prediction. Okay, Spencer Pratt is going to win this thing. Why? Just like Trump did. Just like Trump did. What did Trump do? Trump spoke common sense. Okay? He got on the X in 2015-16 and spoke directly to us. We need a wall. Okay? And what did we do? We went and voted him in. Why? Because it was unbelievable that somebody would just have that kind of, common sense approach. What is Spencer Pratt doing? Spencer Pratt is completely changing campaigns forever. And by doing that, he's dismantling the criminal organization that is the Democrat Party. I think the Democrats are going to completely corrupt the election in LA. And I think the result of that is going to be a massive investigation and huge number of people going to jail for a very long time. I think probably the Department of Justice is not sitting back, but is certainly watching. And the Democrats can't help themselves. Why? They have nothing else. What is Mayor Bass's policies? Give meth heads new teeth? Gavin Newsom dole out super expensive diapers through nonprofits that his wife and he are connected to with fancy Hollywood people on the board? That's the policy? It's not going to work. Now, they still may corrupt it. And then I think what the Department of Justice is doing is sitting back, almost sort of willingly letting them do it so it becomes more obvious. Okay, I'm going to play two of his, this is, I think, is an ad that he did. And then I'm going to play another one that I don't think he did. This is simple. Just watch this.
Now this is a story all about how my life got turned upside down, and I had to take a minute to run for mayor. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. In West Los Angeles, Palisades, my backyard is where I spent most of my days. Feeding hummingbirds, relaxing all cool, avoiding all the bums outside of the school. When a couple politicians who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fire, my mom got scared and said, "You're moving in with Harvey Levin in Bel Air." My lot about 7 or 8, and I yelled to the rubble, "Yo ho, smell you later." I moved to my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as the Prince of Bel Air.
All right, what's he doing? He's doing a couple of great things there. He is mocking the left because they were saying, "Oh, you didn't live you don't live in the Palisades in your trailer. You live in the hotel in Bel Air." He's mocking them. Yes, mock them. Mock them. That is a great strategy. By the way, it's a strategy that the Democrats have perfected. Okay? He is changing campaigns forever. he is using social media better than Trump. Trump started with his X account, or back then Twitter account. He would just tweet out a bunch of stuff, and every news organization in the country covered it. Everyone. So he was on the front page of the newspaper every day, front page of everything, TV, radio, whatever. He just used X. He used to say that it was billions in free advertising. That's what Spencer Pratt is doing, except he takes it to the next level because Trump came in with a huge social media following for 2015 and 16. Spencer Pratt is coming in with a huge social media, TikTok, Instagram, more video than Trump was doing back then. People know him, all right? They like him. They're sort. I'm going to play. Wait, if I can find this thing. Yeah, here. No, that's not it. Here it is. This is something I wanted to play. Hold on. This is an example. I don't even know who these people are, okay? But it's an example of the effect that he's having on people who aren't very political. Remember, one of the things that got Trump the election in 2016 was a huge number of voters who had never voted before. Watch this.
Gonna change.
Okay, just wait. First of all, like, he's an icon. Okay. He's a mastermind. If you really understand about like the hills and what he did behind it and how, this opportunity he saw, he's really intelligent, honestly.
I think so too. I like what he's doing, but I'm just curious what you think.
Just wait. I've been following him forever. The crystals, the hummingbirds, super into it. Fucking love him. I love that kind of content. But then when the fires happened, he just really represented. He was this voice for so many people.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like he made a citizen's arrest on the Californian government, if that makes sense. He just took it upon himself to really dive deep into all of, the fraud and corruption and all the stuff that we know is going on, but we don't know what it is. But where are our tax dollars going? Why is homelessness only increasing? Why is drug use only increasing? I just think his campaign is
amazing,
brilliant.
Okay, listen, she may like the hills and all that stuff, but she was just able to articulate very clearly exactly what Spencer Pratt has been saying. And I love that visual, a citizen's arrest on government. Yes. He conveys this stuff through his videos, through his ads. Second part of it we're going to get to in a second is then everyone else is jumping in and making AI videos, mocking the left. By the way, what you hear in there is I said this before, I'm going to say it again. Sorry. She is articulating exactly what Spencer Pratt is saying. So she's getting the message, as odd as that might come off, like, oh, I love the hummingbirds and whatever. She's still getting the message. Spencer Pratt is changing everything. Now, one of the voting blocks that has been a diehard leftist Democrat voting blocks are women, particularly college-educated women, which is a lot of the women in LA. Now, let me see if I can get this open. This is an ad. I don't think this was him. I think this was somebody made this for him, which is another topic. So there is this massive amount of data that is coming out, not data, there's a massive amount of content that's being created that is serving him. He's not doing it. Now, I'm dying to hear where this goes, because if you do an ad and put it on TV for a political candidate, you're going to get a call, if you're a Republican, from the FCC and maybe from the IRS, because that's a political contribution in some way. When you make this show, I'm out saying Spencer Pratt for mayor. That's not a political contribution. This is an opinion show, and we're allowed to do this, First Amendment right. All these videos, wait and watch the Democrats try to outlaw social media videos in political campaigns. That's coming. Now look at this video based on moms.
All right, class, great job today. Hey, I have to tell you something. Promise you won't get mad? I'm voting for Spencer Pratt. Get mad? I'm voting for Spencer Pratt too. Did someone mention Spencer Pratt? No? No. Oh. Because I'm actually voting for him. Oh, so are we. I just don't know if we can say that too loud over here. Say what? Spencer Pratt? He's got my vote. Wait, is everyone here voting for Spencer Pratt?
Now, I don't know. He may have created that one. If he did, the brilliance, well, whoever created it, the brilliance of that one is they're trying to show people, because they know there is an undercurrent. Those other two girls in the previous video shared it. There is an undercurrent of people who are awake and saying, wait a second, what is going on? Okay, we got to change this. But it's not socially accepted at the moment. You still have to be a hardcore leftist voting for idiot Basora, as Spencer Pratt calls her. And that video is trying to let everybody know you're not alone. You're not wrong. And I mean, it's, black girl, Asian girl, Latin girl, blonde girl, brunette girl, woman, they got it all covered. I think it's all AI. This campaign is changing politics forever. It will never be the same. The other thing that it's doing, it's showing the contrast and the stiffness. Rahman and Bass at that debate a few weeks ago, stiff and stupid, partly because they have no policies. Again, go back to the criminal organization. There are no policies. It's just theft. That's it. There's nothing. There's no policy in Los Angeles that those women are running on saying, we want more tax dollars taken. No, don't look over there at that hospice fraud. Get back over here. It's all theft. And everyone's getting tired of it. If it's a legitimate election, Pratt should win 80% of the vote on June 2nd. 100%. It's 100% that he should win 80%. The only people voting for Democrats now are retards, hat tip to Donald Trump for bringing back that word, and people who are in on the grift, working for government, working for the Democrats. Your husband, your wife, somebody is getting it. You're either working in these nonprofits, and I've been over this before. There's a lot of good people who don't realize that they're part of the problem, that they're part of the theft. They're part of the criminal organization. What do I mean? You work for a nonprofit. You think I'm doing great things. I'm whatever, curing homelessness, obviously not working. You're not high enough up, so you don't get into really where all the money comes from. It comes from our tax dollars. And you're told eventually, like, if the Republicans get in, you're going to lose our funding, and then you'll lose your job. Oh, I better go vote for Democrats. Corrupted. Right there. You're a good person, but you haven't taken the time to look and say, what's really happening here? You work for a pharmaceutical company. You're not the CEO. You're somebody mid-level. You slowly begin to understand that your paycheck comes from Congress giving you exemptions from being sued for hurting people. Oh, well, I better do that because my stock options and everything else, my whole life is based on this. Uh-oh, I'm corrupted. I'm part of the problem. It is a corrupt organization. Spencer Pratt is doing exactly what that woman said. It is a citizen's arrest. All right. And now, of course, you've got the Department of Justice. I don't think I have it. Let me just see. Oh, you know what? I do. I want to play this one. This is user-generated content. Okay. This is just the example of somebody putting something out there. And read this one. On my way. Okay. What are they going to do? That is both mocking the left. I don't know if she's serious, but that's mocking the left. So you're making your point, and a good tune, and it's kind of fun to watch. It's short. This is how Spencer Pratt is changing. She's now, however many people saw this, all of you, me, we're affected by that. He has created this exponential network of people who are creating content for him. First Amendment right, mocking the left, right, 6-7, I don't know. All right, so that's the criminal organization. That's what's happening in LA. Now, This shirt, open it up with it. Okay, the great comment observation from Reagan. Mandami brought it up, which is why I'm putting it up. And idiot that he is, hold on. Boom. Back over. Let's play it, and then we'll talk.
Peninsula as a whole will serve as physical proof of our conviction that government can be a force for good, that government can drive change that improves people's lives. And standing here this morning, I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family.
Stop right there for 1 second. See these people in the background? This woman, black woman, New York City groceries. I don't know how to get the screen to go big. Oh. Okay. She's what I was talking about earlier. By the way, all of these people, look at, they're all women. Okay. They're all either paid directly or they're in on the scam. They work for nonprofits. They work for government. They work for unions, taking the dues money and funneling it all the way to Democrats. None of those people are legitimate citizens who are just out without an interest. They will say, well, they work for a union or a nonprofit. They're corrupted. They're getting their money from the government. That's why they're there. He's not right. If you want to have people be able to work and be able to afford to feed their family, how about fixing the schools? Get rid of the Democrats, the teachers unions who have been in charge of the black schools, miss, for the last 50 years. How about that? How many more citizens do we want to sacrifice to the leftist gods? So it is exactly true. The scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. They cannot help you. You can help you. Your community can help you. Your church can help you. They cannot help you. The Democrats have shown this. Why? Because they corrupt it. When you get that much power, human beings are just going to naturally gear towards corruption. I love my shirt that my daughter got me. When he mentioned this, I knew I was going to put this on the show, and it's a great example. He's this soft touch, and he talks with a soft voice, and he's an idiot. Oh, well, I think government can do great things. No, it cannot. It cannot. It is proven that it cannot. He came in saying free buses. Now he wants to tax the heck out of everybody. It's always the same. Always. I know this is another beauty. This Seattle mayor, another complete dolt. Okay? The Democrats are a complete criminal organization. By the way, when Barack Obama takes government and weaponizes it against Trump before he was elected and after he was elected, we voted him in 2016, and Obama used the entire federal government to try to remove him, to try to get him impeached. That is our tax dollars, because we pay for the government, being stolen and using for the left to grab more power and enrich themselves. How do they enrich themselves doing that? Because they produced all this nonsense propaganda, the fairy tale of the pee-pee tape and the blah, blah, and they funneled it through all their leftist sources. They sold advertising. They got book deals. Some of these retards got Pulitzer Prizes. All fake. That's our tax money. We paid for that. We're going to do an episode at some point here on Trump's concept of getting rid of all federal taxes, which I think is going to happen and has to happen. It's not just any longer to tax us. All right, we went a little long today. Man, things got to change. Spencer Pratt is changing campaigning forever. Mandami, by the way, he's changing campaigning forever. He just doesn't know it, and not for the reasons he thinks. The Democrats are a criminal organization. They do not represent you, whoever you are. Doesn't matter. They are a leftist organization. All right, we're going to be back here. Now listen, tomorrow we will not be at 2 o'clock. Moving all around, and I know that's a cardinal sin of shows. We're going to shoot in the morning. Believe it's 9 a.m. We're going to be on live, but you'll see it go up on the X, about an hour before. Please join us. Spread the word. We're trying to grow the audience. We're trying to get the word out about the greatness of Donald Trump and his agenda and what's going on. We spent almost no time on Trump today, no time until now. We're not going to go into it. But Spencer Pratt doesn't happen without Trump. No, he does not. Okay? Trump is bringing about huge changes in America, the American system. I wanted to get to Promethean Action today. We're going to have to do it tomorrow. But they're the best people doing the best content you can see on my X thread. And go check out the X thread. And on X, follow, retweet, re-X our stuff. Here, follow, like, subscribe on YouTube. Here, Spotify. The episodes usually drop on Spotify about an hour after they finish up. Pass on the word. We'll be back. I'm back, fired up after my fishing trip and ready for a huge week. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm praying for you, as Mike Schmidt says. Please pray for me.